When I was in college, I had a professor for Hasabastri who everyone feared. Dr. Meyer had a reputation for being brutally tough. Failed. Half his students never curved grades and had this ice-cold demeanor that made students literally change majors to avoid his classes. I needed his course to graduate, so I was stuck. On the first day, he lived up to the legend, walked in without greeting us, immediately handed out a pop quiz on material we hadn't covered yet, then collected it, saying, "If you failed this, consider dropping now, it only gets harder." 3 weeks in, I was struggling but determined. After one particularly difficult lecture, I stayed late in the campus library trying to understand the concepts. It was past midnight when I finally headed to my car in the nearly empty parking garage. As I approached my beat-up Honda, I noticed someone trying to change a flat tire a few spaces down. It was pouring rain, and the person was absolutely drenched. I almost walked past. It was late, I was exhausted. But something made me stop. It was Dr. Meyer kneeling in a puddle, struggling with a lug nut that wouldn't budge. I hesitated for a second, then offered to help. He looked surprised but accepted. We worked together for about 20 minutes in the rain until we finally got the spare on. My clothes were soaked through, and I was shivering. "Thank you," he said, actually making eye contact for the first time ever. Most students would have enjoyed seeing me struggle. I shrugged. Flat tires don't care how tough you grade. He almost smiled, which I hadn't thought physically possible for him, and we walked to our cars. As I was about to drive away, he knocked on my window. "My wife is in the hospital," he said abruptly. "Cancer treatment, that's why I had to stay so late on campus. I usually change my own flat," but he trailed off, looking suddenly older. "Anyway, thank you." Before I could respond, he walked away. The next morning in class, everything seemed back to normal. Dr. Meyer was his usual demanding self, but at the end of the lecture, he announced a new optional study session. On Thursday evenings, I attended the first one, and to my surprise, he completely transformed. He was patient, explained concepts clearly, and even made a few dry jokes. Over the weeks, these sessions became invaluable, and my understanding of the material improved dramatically. A month later, I ran into him at the hospital while visiting my grandfather. Dr. Meyer was sitting alone in the waiting room, staring at his phone. I almost didn't approach him, but something compelled me to say, "Hello." He looked up, recognized me, and after a moment's hesitation, gestured to the seat next to him. "My wife's having surgery," he said quietly. "Been sitting here for 3 hours." We ended up talking for over an hour. He showed me pictures of his wife, a vibrant woman who taught elementary school before her diagnosis. He talked about their travels, their 2 grown daughters. It was cool seeing this human side of someone I'd only known as the Bursch tyrant. When a nurse finally called his name, he stood and awkwardly extended his hand. "Thanks for the distraction," he said. "I needed it." Fast forward to the end of the semester. I'd worked harder in his class than any other and was hoping for at least a B. When grades were posted, I was shocked to see an A, convinced it was an error. I went to his office. "Dr. Meyer, I think there's been a mistake with my grade." He looked up from his desk. "Did you earn less than an A on the final?" "No, I got a 91, but my overall average was an 89.6, he finished. "I don't round up ever." He studied me for a moment. "Except it seems when a student shows me that here is more to education than numbers on a page." I was speechless, he continued. "My wife asked me something important during her recovery. She asked if I'd made any difference in a student's life this year, if anyone would remember me as more than just a difficult professor." He paused. "Thanks to you, I could honestly say yes." As I was leaving stunned, he added, "Oh, and my wife wants you to come to dinner next week. Apparently, I've mentioned the student from the parking garage enough times that she's curious." That dinner was the first of many. Over the next 2 years, I became close with both of them. Dr. Meyer became my thesis advisor, wrote my recommendation for graduate school, and even officiated my wedding years later, all because I stopped to help someone change a tire on a night when I almost didn't. Sometimes the happening to people are just going through the hardest times, and sometimes a simple act of kindness reveals a completely different person than you expected.